Have you ever had a problem where, I don't know, say someone said, "Have I got a deal for you?" And then they did the opposite? Oh, it's a hard audience. Well, that's where my story is going to start. I ended up, this was back in my Microsoft days, but all of a sudden there was this big reorg. I ended up in a new org. I had all this sort of success with the team I had been on. We got these awards, all this stuff. I joined this new team, and they're like, "Phil, if you'll give that up, we'll give you this beta program." And because that way there you'll get the visibility you need, the support you need, everything you need so that you can be successful in this org. So I had thought about it, and I was like, okay, that's fine. Well, it didn't go exactly as planned. It started off okay. I managed to make all the partnerships I needed, all the connections I needed. I had the plan, the whole partnership, the whole beta program figured out, knew exactly who was working on the back end stuff, who was on the front end, how it was all going to work. And then all of a sudden this mandate from the top came down going, "Nope, you know what? It's all going to that guy. But we'll give you this little piece." So I gave up this company-wide build service that we were running so that I could take on this beta program, and ended up with the build status page. I wasn't very happy. I got bitter. I got angry. I got upset. As the time went on, it was like more lies, more lies, more lies, more lies. And every night I'd go home and I'd be madder and angrier. It would be so weird because on the radio, every night on the way home, it's like every song on the radio was like, "You need to forgive them. You need to let it go. You need to forgive." And I'm like, "But God, you know what they're doing. It's like, this is just they don't deserve me to do that." So I just got worse, and it didn't help me at all. Like I got to the point where I'd go home, I'd have supper, I'd go lie on the couch, usually when my kids would lie next to me, and I'd just sort of lie there in a fetal position, just go to sleep. Because it was just that, it had gotten that bad. I was like, this is crazy. Like, I'm trying to be happy Phil. Everybody at work, nobody at work knows what's going on inside of me, but I'm just happy Phil. But no, that's not how it was. And all of a sudden, it was funny too, because I had my phone, and I'd record those songs that were telling me, "Oh, you need to forgive them." So I'd use like Shazam or one of the apps to be able to get the song list, right? And then I'd just leave it there and just, "Thanks for coming out." Well, all of a sudden it's getting close to tax time, and I'm all of a sudden I look at my W-2, and I hadn't really thought about anything. I'm like, "Oh God, help me." Every other time I've gone for my taxes, "You've taken care of it. Take care of this." Well, I'm driving to the tax lady to get my taxes done, and all of a sudden this song comes on the radio, 7 times 70. It's talking about forgiveness. I'm like, "Oh, here we go again." But all of a sudden it's like, all of a sudden in my mind, I'm like, I need to forgive these people. So I started going through the list. I need to forgive this person. I need to forgive that person. It was crazy because between my house and the tax lady, I'm on the highway. I'm on I-90 driving, and all of a sudden my eyes are watering. I'm tearing up. I'm like, "I'm so sorry. I forgive you." This. And anyways, nobody else in the car, so it was okay. So I'm just going through it. I'm like, okay, I forgive him. I'm going through all that. All of a sudden, just as I finish that, all of a sudden I hear, "As you forgive others, I'm going to forgive you." And I'm like, "Oh, forgive me." It's like I'm just like, oh no, I can't. So like, it's probably been 3-4 months every day on the radio. "Forgive him." And I'm like, "I can't forgive him. Forgive him. No, I can do." So I'm like, "Oh, forgive me." So all of a sudden, it's so weird because I'm pulling off I-90 to pull into Issaquah where my tax lady is. boom, it was all gone. All the stress, all the bitterness, all the anger, all the frustration, it was all gone. I'm like, no way. Like, it was just crazy because I'm like, well, you took care of the big stuff. Can you help me with the taxes? And anyway, it was kind of funny because afterwards I called my wife going, I got good news and really good news. It's like, it's one of those, we're getting a refund and it's enough to pay off the Visa bill. So all of a sudden it's like, all right, so now I go back to work on Monday. And it was funny because there was a few friends that could tell, a few friends that knew sort of what was going on, what had been taking place. And all of a sudden they're like, Phil, there's something different. Like, your job's the same. They're not treating you any better. What's going on? And I was like, it's forgiveness. And it was so weird because from that point on, I would never wish for that to happen to me, but it did. I would never wish it on anybody else. But the lesson I learned through it became so relevant to me because all of a sudden these people that I knew, all of a sudden I'm like, they're like, hey Phil, do you have a minute? I'm like, sure. So all of a sudden they're telling me these stories about what's happening to them. And I'm like, you need to forgive them. They're like, but I'm like, no, you need to forgive them. It's not about what they did to you. You just need to let it go. If you don't, you're going to do like what I did, and I don't want you to get there. It's like, how far down the spiral do you want? Do you want to hit the bottom? Like, don't do it. Because the reality is, if you don't forgive them, it's like taking poison and expecting them to die. It's not going to work. You're not going to have very much success trying to do that. And it was so weird because all these people just kept showing up, like all of a sudden. And then later on, and it wasn't until I had done that all of a sudden I was in a right mental state to be able to look for new jobs and actually be able to have successful interviews and be able to do stuff like that. Because there was no way I would have been in any state to have a conversation with somebody interviewing me. I ended up then moving over to another group at Microsoft, and it was interesting because all of a sudden something happens there. And my first response was to forgive them and then try to work on how to fix things back up. And it was amazing to me because instead of like the first time where it took me 3 months of and almost hitting the ground before I started working my way back out, right away it was like that. And it was fun because all of a sudden these people who knew exactly what happened to me, they were walking through it with me, and they're like, Phil, it makes no sense. Like, we saw what they did to you. We know what they did to you. And unlike the previous one where I kind of tried to hide the whole thing, these guys knew about it, and all of a sudden they're like, how can you do that? I'm like, I forgave them. They're like, but, I'm like, and that's the thing. No matter what it is, no matter what they did, no matter how they did it, the key to that freedom is to forgive them and let it go. Thank you.